Wednesday. I'm super excited to be here with you at Scrapbook and Cards today. My name is Carissa Wiley, and we are going to talk about some birthday week color inspiration here on the SCT channel today. I'm so glad all of you are here with me. Keep in mind that as we move along throughout this video, you can always ask questions in that live chat, and I will get to those as I can. I just want to say thanks for stopping by, hanging out with me today, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We're so glad that you're here. Couple things that I want to point out to you before I get started with all of this color inspiration is that if you have not subscribed to the SCT channel yet, what are you waiting for? There's so many good things happening around here and you don't want to miss any. So hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell. That makes sure that you get a notification anytime that there's a video posted here, anytime we go live. So you don't want to miss out on those things. It's a lot of fun around here, lots of inspiration to be had. The other thing I wanted to tell you to do is if you have not already, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. That just lets your friends know that you like it here. So I hope you are all doing well and having a great and wonderful Wednesday. I'm here in my home studio, so that's where I'm coming to you live from California today. And we're gonna just hop right into it because the question is, can I make a shaker or a window card in less than an hour with nothing prepped, or in an hour with nothing prepped? I'm using Pretty Pink Posh products today. I have some birthday balloons, some party hats, some buntings, some notched rectangles, and a party time stamp set. We're going to use all of this together along with the Pierce stars. And my question to you, while I talk you through the colors that we're using today for our color week, birthday week color inspiration is, do you think we should make a shaker or should we just make it a window card? You guys can let me know in the comments in that live chat and let me know how you're feeling. Are you feeling shaker or are you feeling just a regular window card? We can do either one today. It's easy to change the design that I have. Now here's the colors that I am using today, and I do have some Spellbinders equivalents off to the side. These are Concord and Ninth colors, and I've picked two really bold colors to kind of ground this palette. I have watermelon on one end and I have blueberry on the other. So we have these really bold colors and then some softer colors in the middle. You can see if I take these away, this is a little bit softer of a palette. It's not quite as bright. It's got some little more muted things going on. But we have watermelon, grapefruit, honeycomb, tide pool, and blueberry. And I think that this pop of blue, this feels very much like something I would normally use, but this pop of blue really brings in something just bright and wonderful and to this palette. And so that's what we're going to do today. I see a vote for a shaker, one for a window. I see some shaker, always a shaker, love a shaker. You guys love a shaker. I know not everybody's into the shaker cards, and so I'm offering you a choice today. Now, I'll talk you through, if you don't want to do a shaker, how you just convert this to a window card. But first, let me show you some equivalents in another company here. These are Spellbinders colors, and I've picked out just some just close equivalents to these. You can see that each company is going to have their own tones to their cardstocks, but this is a pretty close match to what we have going on. You can see there's a little bit more brightness to the blue and to the pink that we're using here, but similar color palette that I just wanted to really show you that you may not have the exact things that I'm using, but you can probably find things in your stash that work well. And so this is Dahlia, Coral, Beeswax, Waterfall, and Cosmic Sky from Spellbinders. So if you wanted to pick out a similar palette, you can do that. You don't always have to have the exact same things. The blueberry makes it shine. It really does. It's so much fun. And I have not done any like pre-die cutting or anything today, but I think we can do this because I have in mind what I want to create. And that's a window or a shaker with some balloons and a party hat on the side. We'll have an embossed sentiment. The only thing that I did as far as prep work was cut a few balloon strings so that we wouldn't fuss with that. I do also have some scraps of these colors that I can lay out here, and I have a good idea of how I want to use all of my colors. Tide Pool is going to end up being one of my kind of background colors, and we're going to ground this with a lot of white. So we're going to have a lot of white and pops of colors. Now I'm going to start out with these party balloons. You can see that there are a few different shapes here. And because I have a pierced star background that I want to use as well, I'm going to bring in intentionally one of the star balloons to kind of break up my bouquet of balloons. I'm also going to use the stitched balloon and the star balloon, and I'm going to cut a backer for this so that we have some solid color shining through those star openings. So I have all of these here, and I'm just going to place them onto my cutting sandwich here so I can die cut them all at one time. And I want my party hat to be blue. Now, like I said, I did kind of invent this layout in my head ahead of time. And so I had a good idea of what I wanted to use. And because we're working on an hour time, and I know a lot of you, your time is precious, and the crafting time that you get is not always as much as you want. And so what I'm going to do is choose a party hat that does not have to be pieced together. So this will give me some stitch stripes, but instead of using this one here where I would have to paper piece the stripes in, I'm going to use the stitched stripes instead. And because I don't know what color I want my hat topper to be, I'm going to take two different options and just die cut them out of a couple of different colors. And I think I'm going to cut one out of yellow and one out of the watermelon. So I have a couple of options here. And then we're going to die cut everything at the same time so that we're getting a lot of bang for our buck. You can see I'm using scraps of these colors, so I'm not using a ton of colored cardstock here, but we can make a lot with not a lot of cardstock, right? And that's why we all are so careful about saving all of our little scraps, right? We all have the little scraps. By the way, drop in the comments if you have a favorite way to store your scraps. What do you do to keep track of all your scraps? So I use just a paper protector, and I keep scraps of the color with the full sheets of the color so that I make sure that if I'm reaching for that color, I can look in that little paper protector and see if I have some scraps that will work before I cut into a larger full sheet. So that's how I store my scraps. I don't have like a separate little bin or anything for scraps. I just know usually if I'm going for a particular color that I can look there, and if I have scraps that will work, I'll grab those first. I am going to put my dies back as I create here, which is not something I normally do, quite honestly. Everything usually ends up all over the place, but we're gonna attempt to stay a little bit organized today as we work through this card. So I do the same scraps with the full sheet. Yes, love these colors. I love that you guys are loving this, and the blue really is something that kind of freshens up this color palette. Now, when I'm working with color palettes, one of the things I love to do is pick something that I'm comfortable with and mix it with something that I don't use as often. So you may notice, like for me, I use watermelon, honeycomb, and grapefruit, those kind of similar colors quite often. What I don't use is the blueberry. And so this is a great way to take a color palette that you may be comfortable with already and kind of mix something in that freshens it up and brings new life to it. Also, depending on how much of each of these colors that you use in each of your palettes, it can really make a difference on how the finished project feels. So if we use a ton of the blueberry, it probably will feel a little more masculine. If we use a ton of the watermelon, it's probably going to feel a little more feminine. But you can kind of control the way a color palette leans by the amount of color that you mix in. I have a panel of white cardstock here. It is a 4¼ by 5½ inch panel. And I'm going to take the pierced plate die with the stars here, and I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. And this is going to become our card front. Now we're also going to create like a backer with this same star panel. So I'm going to create this, and you can see I have this fun star pattern pierced into, you can't see, it's too bright. Here, do you see the fun stars? There you go. Fun stars, they're much more visible in real life than what you're seeing on the screen. And then I'm going to take this same panel, and with a piece of Tide Pool cardstock, remember we talked about the Tide Pool kind of becoming our backer color, then I am going to die cut this star panel again. So we'll just run that through our die cut machine. Remember, we're seeing if we can make a shaker card in an hour with nothing prepped. I think it can be done, and I think you could do it too. So now we have our Tide Pool panel, which will become the kind of opening or the backer area of our shaker window. I am gonna have to cut it down because I don't want the Tide Pool to stick out the sides of my white cardstock here with that same star pattern. Let's see if you can see this a little bit better. Look at those stars, aren't they adorable? And Pretty Pink Posh has a lot of these pierced plates that make different, scalloped borders and that sort of thing. So I love the piercing because it adds some texture without adding dimension to your card project. Now, there is a couple more things that I need to create. I need to create my shaker window. And so on this white cardstock, I'm going to use a notched rectangle for this. And I'm going to place this in the center of this panel that I've already die cut with the pierced star plate. And I may not be calling these the exact right name, but keep in mind there are links to the products that I'm using in the YouTube description below. So if you're looking for something in particular, you can check there. All right, so there's a lot going on at my house right now, by the way. So it's just like craziness here. I'm actually preparing to go out of town, and there's a load of laundry going. I have a Walmart delivery coming because I had something that I needed and didn't have time to run and get it. Plus I have that Walmart Plus thing going on where they deliver for free. So there's like all kinds of chaos happening in the background. You guys just don't see. There's also a tri-tip in the oven. So there's just a lot going on. I'm going to line up that notched rectangle in the center of this panel. And like I said, that's going to then become my card front and my shaker window. Now, if you've been around me enough, you know that if you are wanting to create a shaker window or a shaker card, you need a few things. You need a window, which we now have. You need a wall, which is your back wall that we now have. And you need a well, which is what we will create with our foam adhesive to make room for our shaker elements. Now this I can put aside and I can use on another card, so we'll just save that. And there's a couple more elements that I want to add, and it's just a couple of these party banners. Now there's a couple party banners here that you can cut the solid portion and then add the individual colored pieces to it to make a multicolored, but I'm just going to focus on these two here, which we can die cut and create really quickly. Which cutter do I use? So I'm using the Anna Griffin Empress machine, but you can cut these with any die cut machine that you may have. I want to bring in some more blue. So I'm going to die cut one of these with some blueberry cardstock. And then I think I will do the other one with, I'm thinking watermelon. We may change our mind later and recut, but we'll see how everything looks when we get it all through the die cut machine. Now you can see my dies are hanging off of my cardstock. Not a big deal because we don't need the full length of these dies, but they are a nice long die that you can stretch across your A2 size card, whether it's horizontal or vertical. So we'll just grab these, and now we have all of our die cutting ready to go. We have all of our pieces. Now the question is, Do we add ink blending to add a little something something to these die cut pieces, or do we leave them as they are? That is the question that I have for you. You can let me know what you think, and I'm thinking maybe I need like a third color in here. So I'm just gonna kind of start laying this stuff out, and maybe I need a third color. I'm liking the idea of a third color, and I'm thinking it maybe needs to be in the more narrow. And so I'm probably going to do it in, let's do it in the grapefruit, because we have some yellow going on here in a large way. Let's just bring this in. Like I said, we can always die cut another if we get into it. You think ink blend? Okay, we could possibly ink blend. And then we're going to need a sentiment. So we're just kind of creating all of our elements, and then we're gonna put things together. Ooh, I really like the way that looks, that triad of colors there. Okay, so let's take our pieces here and let's do some quick ink blending on them. It doesn't have to take a long time to do blending. You can do it in a quick way. So if you ever are creating and you have an hour to get to a party, I'm going to show you this can be done. I'm going to watch my time really carefully though. We might go over just a little. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to take this piece here of the watermelon that has the stars die cut from it, and I'm going to lay out my pieces onto a grip mat here. And I'll just grab some coordinating inks to do my blending. So I have them all kind of ready to go over here. And I'm going to start with the watermelon, and I like to just kind of blend off on my glass mat so that I kind of don't get any crazy lines on my ink blending. And so we'll just kind of add a little bit of depth. Now remember, it feels like I'm going heavy, but as this ink dries back, it's going to kind of soften a bit. So my advice for this portion is to go a little bit heavier than you may think. However, another thing to keep in mind is that you can always add more ink later, but you can't take it away. So those are kind of the things that you have to balance as you're thinking about your ink blending on your die cut elements. How like intense do I want it? How much contrast do I want to add? And then you can kind of work through it that way. Maybe stop a little bit less shy of what you think you want and then let it dry a little bit and reevaluate. You can always do that. But those are the things we always have to balance when we're doing, you know, some ink blending over die cutting. All right, so we're gonna get some of this honeycomb ink. Now, honeycomb is one of my favorite yellows. I think it's a sleeper yellow. I don't think people, it's not quite as green as Stardust, but it does have like this bit of green in it that kind of gives it a richness. Okay, blueberry. Now, the other thing that you can do, I'm gonna go blueberry on blueberry. The other thing that you can do is if you want your ink blending to be a little more intense, you can actually pick one darker shade of ink than what your cardstock is and do blending with that. And that's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to your blending. It's going to give you higher contrast, a little more color payout than your tone on tone. So using the same color. Now I'll pull these off so you guys can see them. Keep in mind, they're gonna dry back just a little. So we have just that little bit of shading that brings a fun touch. Now I'm thinking of doing something kind of fun with the hat topper and kind of combining a couple of these. They're not necessarily meant to go together, but that doesn't mean we can't use them together. And so I'm gonna take a little bit, of watermelon ink and go in with this hat topper, and a little bit of honeycomb ink go in on that hat topper. And I think we will stack them And that will allow us to bring more of those colors into different areas and kind of mix up the colors on the card front. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping in and playing with us today. We are so glad you are here. If you're just popping in, no worries. We still have a little ways to go on this card. And so I think you're gonna enjoy your time with your crafty friends here, and I really appreciate you joining me here today. So for the star balloon, I've cut a solid backer. You could do this in a contrasting color so that the stars would show up more, but I'm just going to do it in the same color and allow those stars to be, you know, kind of tone on tone, a little bit of texture there. You know, maybe we should add just a slight bit of ink blending with these guys too. I didn't do that. So let's quickly, we may have to bring the ink in. I thought maybe we could get away with doing it with what we already had, but it was not having it. So we're going to add just a bit of blending to these banners, kind of where the areas meet. Give it a little bit of shading. And then we have our grapefruit and our watermelon that will add some shading as well. So let's do watermelon here. And I'm just kind of doing a little bit along the base, not a ton on these because I don't want to get over blended. So we'll go there. And then let's do just a little bit of grapefruit on the base of this one. Here we go. So just kind of coming up onto those scallops and giving it just a little bit of a hint of color there. That, to me, if I'm gonna do blending on some of my pieces, I really feel like I should blend them all. So, you know, that's kind of why I decided to do the banners as well. All right, so we have our elements. We are all ready to go and start assembling. Now, I need to trim this down because it's got to sit behind my card front, and there's a little piece on the edge here that I want to deal with as well. So I'm going to just do a little bit of trimming on my pieces just to make everything nice and clean. You can see that little string that needed to come off of here. And then on my tide pool piece, I'm going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off of each side. And the thing that makes this fun is that we are kind of continuing the pattern that's going to be on our card front, and it will be in that shaker window as well. So it's kind of a fun way to continue the pattern by using that pierce plate on both the card front as well as the backer piece or the wall piece for our shaker. Oh, I throw my magnetic mats out when they're really done. Lee was asking, does anyone throw out their magnetic mats or do you reuse them for dies? I had never thought of reusing them for dies because they're pretty thick. So, okay, so now we'll have this. We need to add a little bit of acetate, and I have just a scrap here. So I'm going to trim this down. And we will just kind of eyeball and trim. I did this the other day and it kind of bit me in the backside because I trimmed it a little too much. And then I was like, well, almost didn't make it. Almost didn't make it. I love also that Scrapbook and Cards Today is doing a birthday week this week. So much birthday inspiration. But the fun part about that is that it is also my birthday week. Now, I already celebrated on Monday was my birthday. There is like a little string that is driving me nuts on the side of this. Monday was my birthday, but I know so many people whose birthdays are this week, so it's the perfect week to celebrate birthday week. Now, Before I put that acetate on, I actually want to position some of my elements because I want the streamers to sit in front of the acetate. So I am going to take and start attaching my banner pieces behind my window. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue to each end and kind of position this here. I think about there is nice, maybe a little more angle. And then let's do kind of a here. So I'm gonna just eyeball where I need my glue and go here with it. Now I don't even remember how it went. Isn't that just like it? You're like, oh, I really like it like that. And then you're like, wait, how did I have it? And then let's go one more piece here. And I'm actually gonna slide it between. So it's coming over the grapefruit piece. And I like it like that. So I'm gonna do kind of a cheater method and just glue it from the back. Get everything where I want it. Let it set up for just a minute and then we can trim off the excess. So we have this banner kind of trio that will sweep across our shaker window here when we're all said and done. Now I do like to give the glue just a second to kind of set up before I go and trim so that I make sure that nothing kind of flies off with my trimming. But then I can take my scissors and just trim off any excess. And now we have our banner pieces. All right, we're doing great on time. You guys, we're gonna do this shaker card in an hour. All right, so now let's pick a really solid adhesive that will stick immediately for our shaker window. So we have a window. We're gonna close up that window using some acetate. So remember, window, wall, and well are the three things we need to create a shaker card. We're gonna use some double-sided adhesive here, and this will hold our acetate in place. And we're gonna go all around. This is the back side of the card front here with our adhesive. Hi, Mindy, thanks for stopping in. I see all of you chattering over there. Love this card already. Well, thank you. I'm so glad. Hopefully this inspires you to kind of pull out colors that you maybe don't normally use. Now, blueberry is one of those colors that I don't feel, I love it when I use it, but I don't use it enough. And so I'm mixing it with colors that I'm already comfortable with to freshen up a palette that I know I love already. So it's just kind of bringing in another element. Now I'm going to take the acetate that I have cut down and I'm going to just place it on to that adhesive. And now we have our window for our shaker card. Isn't this fun? Love that pop of blue. It is so rich. Okay, now we can create our well. Now our well is what we use to hold all of our elements in place for our shaker window or our shaker bits. So the well needs to have some depth to it. And that's why it's called a well, because it has to allow room for the shaker elements to shake around inside. So I'm going to use some foam adhesive and we're going to add our foam adhesive to the back side of our card front. So this is our card front. I have it on the back side. And we're going to make sure that as we place our foam adhesive down, that we're butting the corners up. So I'm gonna take this strip of foam adhesive and make sure that it's butt up against this piece here. That's going to close in any openings and keep my shaker elements from flying out of my shaker card. I have had elements fly out of a shaker card before. It is not the best look at a party. Although it's a fun surprise, right? So just make sure you're kind of closing all of those elements in. I'm using just random pieces of foam adhesive that I have over here on the side. I'm just kind of grabbing, but you could also use some adhesive foam strips from scrapbook.com has some 1/8 inch foam adhesive strips that work really well for shaker windows, shaker cards. They have them in 1, 2, and 3 millimeters. So that's something that you could look into as well. And again, just making sure that I'm all closed up on all of these areas here so that there's nowhere for the shaker guts to escape. I'm going to add a little more at the top and bottom just to give some support. And this will be a full front shaker. Melissa says, I've dropped a shaker card as I was making it and had glitter go everywhere. Not fun. No, you definitely, there are certain points of the shaker cards that you want to be a little more careful than others, and I'll show you that here in just a bit. All right. So now we have our window, we have our well, and we have our wall that we can place all together. We'll have a continuing pattern here. And I am going to add the shaker bits. Now, this is where Stephanie's laughing at my shaker guts. I've always called them shaker guts. This is the area where you're going to have to be real careful to not mess anything up. And I have quite a few like sparkly bits here from Pretty Pink Posh that we can use and mix together. I have some clay confetti sprinkles here. And I think that even though the colors are not exactly matching, I think it works well. I have some little mini iridescent stars and some sparkling clear. Now this is where you want to be careful because you don't, I like to take my backer off first because then I make sure that as, I'm just making sure I have these oriented in the correct direction, this part. So this star goes to the top of the card. But if I have my elements in here and I'm pulling up the backer on the shaker or on the foam adhesive, sometimes I will accidentally flick it and then get like the bits will go flying and then we have a problem. So we're going to mix some of these elements. This is the sparkling clear confetti. It has several different sizes. We're going to mix in some iridescent mini stars here. And these are, you have to be careful with these because I just got one onto the foam adhesive. And I should probably just leave it, but I'm going to pull it off. The other thing that you want to make sure is nothing's piled up too high in one area, because if it's piled up too high, it will get smashed by the back wall of the shaker thing and then it won't move. And then we're going to use, these are called Funfetti Mix. And I love me a confetti card, like a cake, like a Funfetti cake. I'm a 3-year-old at heart. It's just what it is. Okay, so we're going to add some of these Funfetti Mix to our shaker. Now I get maybe a little too carried away with my shaker bits, but I like my shaker cards full and festive. My stomach's growling. I hope you're not hearing that. It's about lunchtime here in California. So I'm just knocking down any areas where it's kind of piled up and just kind of smoothing it out. So as I put the wall on, nothing gets trapped. Okay, so we have sparkles, we have color, we have shine, and now we're going to take our wall and we're gonna seal all of this in. So I'm just gonna look down here, get this centered up. I'm gonna actually use my computer monitor because I find that easiest. And I'm gonna place that down. I'm gonna make sure that the foam is making good contact with this back wall so that everything is held in. And now that, if that isn't a party, I don't know what is. That is so much fun. Okay, we're not done yet. You could leave it like this, but we have just about 20 minutes to get this shaker card done. So we're gonna work on our balloons. I have to adhere the front side of the star balloon to the base piece that I cut. So this base piece doesn't have any stitching. It's just a plain balloon. So I love that there's a variety of different shapes of balloons and styles of balloons in this die set. And this, by the way, is not a newer product from Pretty Pink Posh. They've had these for a bit. So I'm pulling out from my stash and using, and I think that is so much fun. So we put those two layers together. I'm going to tuck the grapefruit behind that, and then we'll have our star balloon at the top. We're going to give it a little bit of space so that you can see the, what is this called? What is the little tie thingy of a balloon called? I'm not real sure, but I want to be able to see that so that you know that it's a balloon. So we're going to give that some breathing room. And then we're going to have this here at the bottom, that really dark color kind of grounding everything out. And then we just need our little balloon strings and a sentiment. And I think we're going to be in business. So let's go ahead and add our balloon strings. Let's do this first. I'm going to take some tweezers and I'm going to add the little yellow piece. Remember, we're making this up. These weren't necessarily designed to go together, but we're going to add the yellow piece on top of the watermelon piece, the honeycomb on top of the watermelon, and then we're going to put that on top of our blueberry party hat, just like this. And allow that to kind of set up. And I think we're going to put all of these, this may make you all cringe, but I think we're going to add foam adhesive behind all of these elements. I just think it will be a lot of fun. Okay. Now, the only prep work that I had done before this live was that I die cut some balloon strings from some matte silver cardstock. The reason I did these was because they're smaller die cuts, and honestly, I thought they could be fussy to do live. So I just went ahead and die cut them ahead of time to just make my job a little bit easier. So we're going to just use a dot of liquid glue. Oh, you guys are so sweet. You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. And like, honestly, my goal, and I say this all the time when I create, but my goal is that you find a little joy, you find a little light, and you find a little inspiration. One or all three of those things makes me happy. So hopefully you're finding that here today as well. A little inspiration, a little joy, and a little light. And I love it when you learn something too. So, all right, so we're going to add this extra little curly Q. But remember, I'm allowing the little balloon stem. I don't know, what is that? The place where you put the air in. I'm going to allow that to show so that you can tell that that star shape is a balloon. Okay, this will be our last little balloon string. Little fussy bit, but we're totally good with just a little bit of fuss, right? And then what I think we can do is start adding foam adhesive to the backs of all of these things. Now, I will caution you, because we want to be able to kind of layer these things on top of each other, I don't want to put foam adhesive edge to edge on all of these balloons. So I'm really going to just take some smaller bits of foam adhesive. The knot, yeah, maybe it is the knot. The stem, I don't know. Air hole. I like air hole. Margie says air hole. I think it might be the stem. I don't know. Someone asked ChatGPT or something. I don't know. So let's add just a bit of foam. Remember, I'm keeping it towards the center so that I can overlap these elements. Do you see how if it goes edge to edge, I wouldn't be able to overlap these elements very easily because my foam would get in the way. But if I add it kind of towards the center and I don't go to the edge, then I have some wiggle room on how I can overlap these. So it would be fun to have this also hanging off the top like the star. So you could do that if you want. I think I'm going to do that because why not? If you are using something that kind of overlaps off the top of a card, you can use an A6 envelope to mail it, and it will allow for you to have some extra wiggle room on that. I am adding a little bit of liquid glue to the back side of these balloons before I place them, just so that I can kind of move them into place if I need to. Gives me some wiggle room. Again, some grace. Air hole. So festive. Isn't it bright and colorful? Like I said, this is a party if I've ever seen one, and we're not even done yet. Okay, let's do this. So we have just a few, and we have our little stem here that you can see. Let's add a little bit of foam adhesive to the back of our party hat. And I'm thinking maybe we allow one of these balloon strings to go in front of the party hat and one of them behind, and kind of have it at an angle, or do we want them behind? I think maybe they need to be behind. Okay, I'm gonna try it at like an angle here. This is the fussy part because you have to get it where you like it. I think there's good. Slight angle. Can see the strings coming out here, which is fun. Okay, love it. Isn't that fun? Oh, and the noise is so good. Okay, now, what do we need? We need a sentiment, and that's where this is gonna come out. I think we're just gonna do a little bit of Tide Pool for our sentiment to bring it in another area, because it's in our backer, but we are kind of, you know, we've been covering that up a little bit. So this is called the Party Time stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh. And my thought is that we will add this on, or we will heat emboss this onto the cardstock. I'm gonna actually use a mini Misty for this. So I have my scrap. Oh, I love this. I'm so glad you guys are loving the color inspiration. I love playing with color. It's one of my favorite things. And one of the things I want to say about this card is you could create it in so many different color combinations and it's going to feel different every time. So maybe you don't have the budget for new supplies right now. Like maybe you don't have the budget for new stamps and dies, but you have colors in your cardstock that you haven't played with much. Mix up the colors, create with something you have on hand, and you will create something that feels new to you because the colors are new. And I think that that's a fun way to create. It's a great way to revive kind of some products in your stash. So I want to do white heat embossing. So I'm going to do some white pigment ink here. And I'm going to stamp a few times just to make sure I have plenty of ink down. Oh, Oh, Julie says, it's so pretty. I have so many birthdays coming up. Would love to make that card. And maybe you have some stamps that are balloons in your stash that you could do this, something similar. If you wanted to not make this a window or a shaker card, you just take out that acetate. Don't add your little sparkles on the inside. And you could create like an accordion pop-up card using this same design. You could create a window card using the same design. So the layout stays the same. It's just the elements are just slightly different. Okay, so we have white pigment ink on our Tide Pool cardstock. And now we're going to add some super fine detail white embossing powder right over the top of our stamping. I'm gonna flick off the excess and I'm gonna give it a couple of coats just to make sure we're well covered. And let's heat set that with our heat tool, which has not been out today. So we'll just do a little warm up. Pretty Pink Plush has some great sentiment fonts. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I'm gonna put that where you guys can look at it while I'm heating up my tool. And then I'm gonna heat from the back side. Just until it's bright white, smooth and shiny, and then move on. Don't want to overheat because it will like sink into the cardstock. Okay. Question, Versamark, do you re-ink it or buy new pads? You can re-ink your Versamark pad, and I have done that before. So it's a thicker ink, so it takes a little elbow grease or a little squeezing power to get the ink out of the bottle, but mine I do re-ink. I was gonna see if I have it here in my drawer. I don't have the re-inker in my drawer, but it is a little bit of a thicker ink, so that's the only tricky part. And then I like to kind of use the tip of the nozzle and just kind of rub it into the foam pad because the foam is a little bit, it's a dense foam. And in order to get the ink to kind of sink into that foam, you kind of want to massage it in there. You don't want to go too hard because you could damage the foam, but you just kind of want to massage it into the foam. So I definitely recommend re-inking if you can. Get a hold of the re-inker. Okay, I've lined up the coordinating die. And we're going to, I think we're going to get this done in an hour. The question was, can we make a shaker card in an hour? And the answer is, not if you mess up the sentiment, which I just did. I just did. Okay, we're going to pretend like that's cute. We may redo that here in just a moment. So you can stamp everything perfectly. If you don't die cut it right, you're losing time on your hour, right? Okay, I do have scraps here though. So we're going to grab another Tide Pool scrap. We're going to re-ink and do this again. I still think I can finish in time. So let's do this. Let's powder here. And we're going to re-ink with the white pigment ink again. Great. I'm glad you guys are liking this. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet to the SCT channel, make sure you're subscribed because there's lots of inspiration coming. I saw Justin Adkins was live the other day here on the channel. So there's a lot of fun things happening. at Scrapbook and Cards today and you want to be in the know. Lining up dies. Well, you know what happens? My magnetic mat in my Empress is very warped right now. And so as that warping is pressed out, it really does cause things to shift, even though it's a magnetic mat. That warping as it gets pushed out shifts things. I really just need to replace my mat. I've been super stubborn about it and I haven't done that. And so that's just it. Congratulations. Scrapbook and Cards today just hit 30,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. That means so much. And I will be here once a month. That is true. So be sure to check it out. We're going to have different things, features every month. It's going to be so much fun. You know what? This one embossed better anyway. This one's better anyway. Maybe it was just supposed to be that do you see how this is kind of warped up a little bit? So what we're going to do to prevent shifting is we're going to line this up again, just like we did before. I'm getting my head in here, so I'm sorry if it's in your way. This time we're going to tape it in place. We do not have time to do this a third time. So we're just going to tape this in place. Make sure nothing moves, and we're going to run it through again. Oh, and this time it did not shift, so we are good. And that other one doesn't have to go to waste. We can actually glue this one behind it. Where do I want to put it? That's the real question. So we can glue the other one behind it. And let's do the tiniest sentiment strip with It's Time To. We're going to do this with the blueberry on blueberry. Are we going to make it? This is the big question. An hour. I chatted for a few minutes ahead of time, but the question is, are we going to make it? Blueberry. I'm using a block. If you know me, I like to live on the edge a little bit and use blocks every now and then. I'm gonna get my head over here so I can get it straight onto my cardstock. Sorry about that. Yes, everybody, congratulations. Okay, perfect. Then we are going to take a trimmer and we are going to trim this into the tiniest little banner. Just like that. Oh, that is the teeniest. I got that margin tight. Okay. Little, teeny, tiny, It's Time To. You could do this in the tide pool as well. I thought it would be fun to bring in that blue because I wanted the blue to kind of be a feature. So let's do this. Let's add some liquid glue to the back right here, just like this. I'm gonna just because we're not gonna waste this piece, and this can add a little bit of weight to a thinner cardstock. So we'll add that. I think we overlap the hat. Let's do that. I'm gonna add a slight bit of foam to the back of the embossed sentiment. I love the celebrations over there. All right, I'm gonna do this here. Another little tiny bit here behind the P, just so we get plenty of support. Oh, it took you a while to find a good heavyweight vellum, huh? I love this like this. I think this is so cute. It kind of keeps the sentiment attached. My husband is starting to ask how much I spend on crafts, and I'm not saying. I get it. I really do. I have other crafts and interests that I spend money on too, and I get it. I really do. Okay, let's do this. I'm just kind of eyeballing this to get it straight. I don't want to cover the party hat too much, but I want it to feel connected to it. And this guy, we're just going to slide in here. The tiniest bit of foam. I mean, teeny tiny, because our strip. Now, the only thing we have left to do is to put this on a card base, because we are not on a card base yet. But I think we can still make our hour time slot. I hope you all have been inspired with the color palette today for this special birthday week on Scrapbook and Cards Today. Be sure you're tuned into the blog and the YouTube channel for plenty more inspiration around here. But I really wanted to bring you some color inspo for this week. And so that's what we did. We took a palette that I normally use, and we added another color that I don't normally use to give it a little fresh feel, and that pop of blue is so much fun. Wouldn't you agree? And if you're just coming in at the end of this live stream, be sure that you go back and watch the replay, because on the replay, or at the beginning of this, I talked about some similar cardstock colors from the Spellbinders brand that you could use to create a similar palette. So if you want, say these are Concord and Ninth colors. They're watermelon, grapefruit, honeycomb, tide pool, and blueberry. But if you don't have those, you can always pull similar colors from your stash and create something. And we love to see what you all create when you're inspired around here. So I'm just going to use some tape runner adhesive and adhere that onto my card base. And I think we're gonna do it. A shaker card in an hour. That's pretty good, you guys. I think you can do it too. Just have your colors picked out and be ready to go. And I think it's a fun way to celebrate. And I love all of these products from Pretty Pink Posh. They're so fun and so versatile. And we have that little star pattern in the background, which just brings a little more texture to the entire card. Okay, there we have it. Mindy says, I had complete faith in you. Well, thank you, Mindy. You had more faith than I did maybe in myself. But this is our fun little shaker card in an hour featuring some color inspiration for birthday week here at Scrapbook and Cards Today. I want to say thank you so much for joining me here. I have just so much fun creating with all of you, and you don't want to miss a single bit of inspiration here on the Scrapbook and Cards Today YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so that you'll get a notification anytime we go live. Thanks again for watching. I will see you again next month here on the SCT channel. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.